Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this episode. Obviously, I am not Chris Stewart. I am the better looking version of Chris Stewart. But my name is Walter Blanks Jr. I am a comms associate with the American Federation for Children. And on today's takeover episode, I have a very special guest. I was trying to figure out who I wanted to interview when Chris reached out to me, and I thought, what better person to interview than the one who raised me, who put me on this track, and really pushed for my education. I think in this space, we often talk about education reform and education policy at a very high level. Um, and sometimes we forget, right? There are parents every single day in the trenches and students every single day, begging for a way out. And so I thought it would be really good to have this dynamic conversation between, school choice recipient turned, hotshot superstar, with his incredible loving mother turned now, parent advocate and someone who is very passionate about this issue. So, without further ado, everyone, please welcome my mother, Traci Woodard. First off, before we get started, Mom, thank you so much for taking the time to continue to invest not only in me, but in students across the entire country, continuing this fight and continuing to be a warrior for school choice. But even bigger than that, happy belated anniversary. You and Dad had an anniversary last week before. I didn't post it on social media at all. I was like, I'm going to wait for this.
Thank you.
I'm going to wait for this moment here, broadcasted live. But let's talk about some of these things. I think to give the viewers a little bit of background, we come from a blended family. You have 6 children. I am number 2 of 6. I'm fully convinced that I'm your favorite, but we'll save that conversation for later. So your oldest two, the 2 sons, come from one father, and then the rest of them come from my stepdad, father, dad, now. And so we talk about how there's no one size fits all model in education, and I use that to take it a step further and say that even within a household there are different dynamics. And so it's difficult for parents to really, make those decisions because each child is so different. So to start this off, talk to us about some of those struggles that you and Dad had to deal with me in particular, but with all the kids.
Well, I love you. Listen, um, I don't really think of it as a struggle so much as hurdles that we needed to get over
Hmm.
because each one of you are very different from the oldest to the youngest. There's similarities, but each one of you are different. And figuring out what works for the oldest doesn't always work for the middle. Figuring out what worked for you didn't work for the youngest, so it's kind of like learning your style, learning you, spending time with each of you one on one, not just as a collective, not just as a group, but just experiencing life through each and every one of you. And that was one of the things that we did, we still do to this day. um, I enjoy it.
Yeah. So to backtrack a little bit, so the 2 youngest boys, Daryl and Caleb, have never set foot in a physical school building. They've
Daryl
always been
Daryl did.
okay. See, I can't even keep it straight. Can't even keep it straight.
Really.
Uh, but for the most part, let's say for the most part, they have been homeschooled.
Mhm.
And then the 2 sisters, 2 girls in the middle,
Mhm.
have done a little bit of everything, a little bit of homeschooling, a little bit of private school, a little bit of public school, and that was the same for me and Tremaine. So I think when you're looking at this on a very basic fundamental level, what were some of the things that you and Dad were looking for when you were putting us in these schools and in these different environments?
we wanted a we were really looking for an environment where we were partners in your education, in each child's education, because every each one of you are so different. We didn't want what worked for Tremaine to work for Petra, or what worked for you to work for Daryl. It's like we
Hmm.
want to be partners, and we don't know everything. Well, I do, but
yes, yeah, I don't know about that.
but it's still being, wise enough to know, okay, I need someone else to aid me in making my child the greatest that they could be.
Right.
And you send your kids to school because you want them to become or to be the best that they can be. However, that wasn't the model that worked for us. And
Hmm.
I mean, it wasn't like we didn't try. We just wanted to be partners, not
Right.
necessarily, the takeover, but it's a learning experience for all of us. So it's not just for you as the student, or the child as the student, but for the teachers. We're learning about they teachers generally become part of your family.
Right.
So we wanted to be partners.
And so building off of that, one main issue, and you may remember this more than I do. One main issue when I was in public school was that I was diagnosed with ADHD. I had to go to the bathroom every 5 seconds. Just being a kid. And the environment that I was in did not promote who I was as an individual, right? Little social butterfly, hands-on learner, those kinds of things. And so one time in particular that I always talk about is being bullied, right? Being bullied, teased a lot, and the Spider-Man shirt incident where the kids ripped the shirt off of me. What do you remember was like the most difficult thing about that time during my life?
The most difficult for me was watching you suffer, and there wasn't anything that I could do, um, or didn't know what to do. You still got to follow proper guidelines. You still got to use wisdom, but then you are still my child, bottom line.
Right.
And if you remember, I don't know if you remember, even though you were in this environment, your brother was in the same environment.
Hmm.
He was thriving. He was the ideal child for a school, for a teacher.
Hmm.
And here you are, you come from the same family, same set of parents, and you were not thriving. But you were considered the troublemaker. You were considered the instigator. You were all these labels. And it was difficult for me because we saw you at home. We knew what you could do at home. We saw how you wanted to be the best doing your homework, trying to, you know, the charts that we put out for you, helping organize the charts. You were very hands-on in what you wanted even at a young age for your learning. But when you would get into that kind of toxic environment, you would shut down. You would regress, and it's like, what can I possibly do in the state of mind that you were in? What could you possibly do to get out of it? So you did what you went to the bathroom all the time. You raised your hand a lot. You talked a lot. Um, you did what you could do to be heard. As your parent, I started to feel like we weren't doing enough. It was like we were failing you. And then how do you combat that? Started researching, started finding out what I could. And, what do I need to do? What do we need to do to prepare Walter to be the best version of himself? Because when you read schools, like the All About Me, or when you go to a school's website and you click on the About the School, one of the
Hmm.
things that you see is we specialize in individual learning, to
Hmm.
make your child become an individual.
Yeah.
That's not the case. That's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like one of those things where like you said, you log on, you see it, and it's like we're striving to, educate every child, or, this, a mission statement. And it's just like,
Yep.
okay, like I hear it, I see it, I love it. But then, my kid's coming back home every single day, multiple grades behind in reading and in math. And so, Yeah, I think that's something that certainly needed to be addressed. One very distinct thing that I do remember, right before you said, enough is enough. We were sitting at this town hall type meeting, and the school rolled out, their 5-year plan, right? Like, this is how we're going to turn the school around. This is how we're going to fix it. This, that, and the other. And we're sitting there like, most of it's going over my head. I don't understand any of this. I'm in the 5th grade or whatever. And you stand up and say, that sounds great. That's awesome. We're glad you're coming up with a plan. But in 5 years, Walter may be somewhere dead or in prison, right? And we just walked right out. And I didn't fully understand what, the power and the weight of that statement until, I really got into this movement, on the policy side, and, the effects that school choice has, because that's so key. And that's so important. Like, like in the Miss Virginia movie, kids can't wait. Right. And so we've been trying to, fix this system, and all these, ideas, and, all of these different initiatives by presidents, and things to help close this gap. And we're not seeing significant strides. And every single day, children like me, are just being shuffled through the system. And so, why is it so important for you, right? Because, your babies made it. Your babies, they got their education, they got out. Well, half of them anyway. Why is it so important for you to continue this fight, and continue to fight for the next generation of students? Why be an advocate? Why not, you went to culinary school, why not go start your own cooking show, or, go pursue some of the things that you want to pursue? Why this?
You know us. I'm a firm believer on your words have power. And your terminology when you were in school, when we walked out of that meeting, by this time you had been told so many different things about yourself that you were starting to say those things about yourself. And you were to me it was a confession, and I was you did not resemble what you were saying. And so just fed up, just fed up. I had to get mad as a helicopter to um, find a purpose, or find a reason, like, okay, this like you said, enough is enough. um there's so many. Your story is not the only story. Your
Mhm.
story is just a drop in the bucket. Sad to say. Sad to say. And not even on the president level, just on a local level, we fight all the time, or we say what we like, but we don't act on it. A lot of times we just don't act on it. I could act on your education because you were in my household.
Mhm.
um, but there was a lot of things I didn't know. I had to find out. There's so much out there that we don't know. You don't know unless you research. And that's why it's like people will believe anything. Anything. I did.
Right.
That's why you suffered as long as you did, because I
Mhm.
believed what people told me. When I started to get out of that box and see it for myself, it's like, that's not it. I had to take
Right.
off the glasses. I had to take it
Mhm.
off. So now
Right.
other parents to take off those glasses.
Yeah.
Nobody knows your child like you know your child. And just it's almost kind of like, just stop it.
Right.
Just stop it. Come on now. It all comes down to money and what we can do. But there's so many resources out there. You just got to find them. You just got to be willing to look. And then you got to stop pretending that what you see is what you see. It's not always
Mhm.
what you think.
Mhm.
Why not fight? I'm a fighter by nature.
Mm.
So,
I am fully aware of that. I was to everyone watching, I was the problem child. So
no.
she used to fight me all the time. All the time. Oh my goodness. I still have stressful moments, flashbacks. Um so I often say that a desperate parent is a dangerous parent. And I look at the things that you have done. I also look at the things, people like Tara Myers, who, from Ohio, who fought like a helicopter.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna say bad words in front of you. I love you too much. Um, who fought tooth and nail for her son Sam, who has Down syndrome, to just have a chance, right? Just have a chance. She took it upon herself to say, I don't care what the local government is doing. I'm going to get my baby an education, or whatever it takes. And so I think those kind of parents who have gone above and beyond help bridge the gap for those students who may not
Mhm.
have that parent there to do that, or who may not even care. One thing that I hear a lot of is, oh, what about the students who don't have parents? Or like when I share my story, they're like, oh, well, you had a mom and a dad who were invested and who were there showing up at the school, all these things. And they always respond with, that's why we need this, right? That's why we need more of this. That's why we need more leaders, on school boards, in politics, that look like us, because we understand that not everyone's fortunate enough to get out. And so we have to keep the fight going, and we have to keep pushing. And sometimes, like, it's frustrating when I look at politicians, people in political powers at the local, the federal level, whatever the case may be, who are of color, might even send their kids to private school. Usually do send their kids to private schools, or very high performing, public schools, but then get in office and don't fight as hard or at all for other, low income families. And it's just like, you can't fake the funk, we're watching, and we want this for our children, and we will do whatever it takes to get there. And so, moving forward a little bit, I went to Tree, went to a private Christian school, where even now, the staff there, the people there, helped shape build me, sixth grade all the way through 12th. And being in that environment, changed my education trajectory. So, what, as a parent, what were some of the highlights? I know it's a lot of years and a lot of things to think through, but what were some of the highlights when I was at Tree, that you remember the most? I mean, it could be anything. It could be sports. It could be relationships. Like, what were some of the things that you remember that was just like, yeah, this is exactly where Walter needs to be.
I think, well, you mentioned Tara, so I have to say that you're not my favorite. Sam is my favorite.
Okay, okay,
But
all right.
when I think about our journey, because you were in the brick and mortar buildings, you were in homeschool, you've been in private school. I mean, the one thing, the very first thing is that when you were testing, so when you came to Tree, you had just completed the sixth grade.
Hmm.
So when you came to Tree for testing, you didn't test well for the seventh grade. And because you didn't test well for the seventh grade, they didn't want to bring you in to see you fail.
Right.
So they partnered with us and asked, "Can we test him for sixth grade just to see where he would test?" And truthfully, we thought you were just zooming through the test. We thought you were just trying to beat your brother, and you blew it out the park. You blew it out the park. And they brought us back in and set us down, and they took the time. They were patient. It wasn't like, look, bring your child here because we know that your child needs to be here, anything like that. It was like, we see your child's strengths, we see your child's weakness. How can we partner with you? This may not even be the right school for your child.
Hmm.
Where let's see where your child needs to be. They were those um, other qualified adults that aided in that. And it wasn't easy, because when you went to Tree, you repeated the sixth grade.
Hmm.
When we talked about that, you didn't relearn anything
Right.
when you repeated the sixth grade.
Hmm.
Everything that you learned was brand spanking new.
Yep.
It was exciting, it was hands on. I'm not going to say it was perfect, but it was where you needed to be. It was
Yeah.
you needed to be, and it was good for you. They held you accountable, just like we do at home. They didn't, if you were having a bad day, it wasn't just because you were just being Walter. It was like, let's see why he's having this bad day. Um, just the partnership, the collaboration, you know, we're not perfect parents. There's no perfect school, even to some degree, I might say it, but you're not perfect. But the environment that you were in was feeding you on the inside and the outside, not just tearing you down. But if those hard conversations had to be had, you had enough built up in your bank that they could have those hard conversations with you, and you knew they were coming from a genuine place.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a really good representation of not just tree life as a school, but what a conducive environment like that can really do for a child. And I remember I often talk about this, that yeah, my education was great, it was a way out for me, but also being at Tree, they developed me as a person as well, right? To be a man of integrity. I remember there were days where after following, the day after a basketball game that we have lost, I might have missed, a game-winning free throw or missed some kind of shot or played awful, right? There were staff members who were like, "Hey, Walt, like next time you shoot, keep your elbow tucked in," or "Oh, that was a tough game, if you want to go and shoot free throws after school, let me know," like investing more than just we got to make sure that he gets good grades, right? Like we want to develop him as a whole person, and I think because of that I have such good relationships with almost every single teacher who was there when I was there.
Investment.
Because right. And now being in the position that I am, it's so powerful. We always talk about how it's come full circle. Like, there are moments that I look back and I just sit and I'm just like, this is incredible, right? And the last time that really happened was when, the secretary came to Tree, and Secretary of Education came to Tree, and essentially, right, like I was able to show her, like, right, like these are my people, right? This is where I come from, like, so, and I said this, I'm like, we're sitting in this room, and maybe just 4 or 5 years ago, right down the hall, right, I was there at homecoming, with all my friends, right? And so we talk about the opportunity and the exposure and the quality of life that school choice gives, and it's not just private school. It's what happens when a child is in an environment and all the ingredients adds up, right, to make something beautiful. Like I went to Europe, like my first time on an airplane, first time. Like sometimes people will go, like half-hour flight, 45-minute flight. No, like I was going to Europe first time on a plane, and like that was a very very enriching moment for me. And so graduated high school, which, like you said, like we didn't even know if that was in the cards. Went to college, didn't know if that was in the cards. um and now you see me, and I moved to DC, continuing this fight, doing things that I personally have never thought I'd do. I'll let you speak for yourself about where you saw me going, but um, you know what is it like as a parent to see all your kids succeeding and doing well? What does that do for you as a parent?
It warms my heart. It lets me know, because I'm an only child, so I don't have the understanding, or I don't understand like the sibling relationships, little things that you guys do. It's like I'm always trying to interrupt what y'all doing. But it wasn't just us as parents. We have a great group. We have a great network of family. The friends, their family. The teachers, their family. We have a great circle that empowers us, holds us accountable, pushes us to be our individual selves. Loves us through our quirkiness, loves us through whatever. but it took a village. I know it's a saying, but it does. It takes a village, and we needed help. We didn't have a lot of money. We didn't have a lot of resources. We didn't have a lot. All we had was each other. And to see, starting from Tremaine down to Caleb, you guys are so. If people could see us on a daily basis, they'd be like, "Gosh, they are so different." Um, but then you come to the conclusion of the evening, when we're winding down, and then you see, like, you guys talking or collaborating, and I watch how you empower each other. Not so much as, the little sibling rivalries and things like that. Is That's always going to be there, but that's an accomplishment for me as a parent, that I'm doing something right. I'm investing in, people who are going to, impact society. And it wasn't from what I've got as a background, because my background is totally different.
Hmm.
Your dad's background is totally different. I don't know if you remember when we were talking about basketball, your seventh grade, the championship game. I don't know if you remember that. And your biological dad had not come to any of your basketball games, but he was present for Tremaine's varsity games.
Hmm.
And you broke down and you
Hmm.
didn't want to participate. You were done. You didn't want to play anymore. And at that time, I did not know your dad, Daryl. He didn't know. It's like, what do you say to him?
Hmm.
How do you? It wasn't that we wanted to fix you. We wanted you to be okay, not being okay.
Right.
And there wasn't one teacher, one staff member, one parent. When they heard what was going on with you, people stepped up on our behalf and poured into you in the seventh grade. Those are times when you're moldable, when you're shapeable.
Hmm.
And they poured into you, and they didn't have to. They could,
Right.
like, Walter's not playing, he's not in the game. And you guys went on and you played and you won. And watching the looks on the other people's faces, not necessarily your team and you, but the other people's faces, they were so proud because they invested in that win. That was their
Yeah.
secret will,
Hmm. Right.
And school, I mean, if it wasn't for school choice, I say this all the time. I really don't believe you would be alive right now.
Hmm.
And not because I was going to hurt you, but
I mean, that might be high on the list. Oh my goodness.
because your mentality, you were not being fed to be successful.
Hmm.
You were just being fed to just be a better version of Walter. That's
Right.
that's not, no, no.
Yeah.
We wanted you to be fed to be great. Not don't necessarily look at your color. Don't necessarily look at what's going on around you. When you speak about, Tree and the secretary coming to Tree, and the platforms that you've been able to be exposed to, we don't necessarily agree with every platform. You want to have a seat at the table, but you respect the office. No
Hmm.
matter who's in office, no matter what, you respect it. and
Right.
and that's the biggest thing. There's many families, there's many people who do not like Tree, who do not like the secretary, who do not like the president. Okay, but what okay once you get past all that, what are you going to do to help somebody else?
Right.
What's I mean, don't even bring that on the table. don't
Right.
don't even bring, and you already know how I feel about that, because I'll
Hmm.
I'm
Hmm.
coming out.
Hmm.
So
Right. Which is one of which is yeah, I would say which is one of my questions. We'll get to that. We'll save that for last. I think it's going to get a little spicy. But but I wanted to touch on something that you said about the kind of the like the the politics essentially of school choice and the kind of hostileness that brings, especially on people of color. And I've been wrestling with this whole year, and I'll tell you straight up, Mom, like I am exhausted. I'm spent. I am raw. I am, running on E. And I think, most of the country is.
Yeah.
And but I think for us, right, it's a little bit deeper. It's a little bit, more scarring. And so um I'm kind of at a point where, you know, I one of my mentors says, I'm an ed reformer first, right? Like that is the priority. It's not the only thing,
Right.
but I've lived this thing out, and I've seen the power that it has, and I've seen what it can do, and I'm starting to get to the point where I'm just like, okay, you either support school choice
Mhm.
or you don't, and if you don't, like, politely, I'm going to ask you to step out of the way and let me, do my thing. And I feel like sometimes within this movement, right, we don't want to step on toes, or we don't want to upset people. Or we're so worried about, oh, well, what is this person going to think of me if they see me with the secretary or with President Trump? And I don't know if it's the young bulldog, exuberance in me, but I'm just like, I don't care, right? I'm trying to fight for kids to have the same opportunities that I did, period, point blank. Like, most people don't know where I stand on a lot of other issues, because in this chamber, in this school choice education reform fighting for kids, that doesn't matter.
Mhm.
And so I saw a tweet the other day, like, someone can agree on, 3 out of 10 policies with me. Okay, well, let's work on those 3 out of 10. Let's come together and start really, really, hacking away at this issue. And if we're going to do that, right, it has to be that way across the board, right? The narrative can't change when it best suits us. And I know I'm kind of tiptoeing in the, some interesting waters here, and I won't go too deep, but I think that's something that is super important to, to bring up and to have a conversation about, because at the end of the day, for me, right, like, getting kids out of low performing schools, whether that's low performing charter school, low performing private, I don't care. I want children to have the best education that they can have, so that they can have a better quality of life. That's it. And so, as a parent, particularly my parent, how do you deal with that hostility, especially on social media? I see you starting to get engaged a little bit more on social media, and sometimes I'm just like, oh God, Mom, don't say anything. But how do you deal with that? How do you navigate that? Because, like you said, you're a mama bear, right? And you want to protect your young. And half the time, I don't even know what people are saying. You'll text me like, "Did you see what so and so said about this on your post?" And I'm like, "Mom, like, I didn't. I didn't see it." So, how do you deal with that? How do you when do you strike? Like, how do you gauge that?
Well, first, let me just say, school choice, being an advocate for children, it's all about kids. It's not my personal. It's about what's best for the kids, not what's best for Traci. And that's your fight right now. There's other platforms, but let those people who are passionate about those other platforms take up those platforms.
Hmm.
This is where you are right now in this moment. You stay in this moment. Are you, and it's the only question first I would say, are you uncomfortable? Are you uncomfortable right now?
No,
Okay, well, I need you to be uncomfortable because when
you
you're
set me up. You set me up. You set me up.
because when you're uncomfortable, you you do things to become comfortable.
Hmm.
But in doing those things, you're creating policies, you're
Right.
writing an op-ed, you're seeing what's
Hmm.
out there, you're finding those other kids because you're uncomfortable with what's going on
Right.
in school choice in the on the opponent side. So when you're uncomfortable, you're going to fight, you're going to move, you're going to try to
Hmm.
maneuver. When you get comfortable, that's when you need to move on, because when
Right.
you get comfortable, then you just stop.
Yeah.
And I can't afford for you to stop. Other kids like Walter can't afford for you to stop. Right now, school choice, getting kids educated, better education, that's your platform right now. In 2, 3 years, you might have another platform. But right now, you need to be uncomfortable in this platform. That's just that. Now, me and social media, so it's actually your fault. So many the people around me know, they know that we're the parents. We monitor you guys. We want to know what you're doing. I don't care if you 35, 55, 65. I want to know what you're doing. And it started when you guys got your cell phones. It's like,
Mm.
you know, I'm not gonna go into detail about what we
You were
did.
you were you were the crazy parent who was like phone locked up at 10. I'm reading all your messages. I want to know who you're talking to, and oh man,
Oh
oh gosh,
gosh. Yes. But it saved you. Most times it saved you. Uh,
yeah, yeah.
but we but because I'm still learning, you've surpassed where me and your parents, your dad, your biological dad, your stepdad, your grandparents, you have surpassed all of us. And social media, I really don't like it, but it's just a way for me to stay connected, find out what's going on, find out what's out there. And I don't strike often, but when I do, it's because I've gotten to that helicopter place,
Hmm.
and it's just like, really? But then you see, I might strike, but I don't keep going. You know,
Right,
I just say what
right.
I have to say, and that's it. And then that's the protectiveness. I'm your circle that you have around you right now. We talked about this when you become president. The circle that you have around you right now, keep those people, or don't bring any new people in. Keep those people in. Those are the people who are going to, hold you accountable, that can tell you no. You
Right.
don't want a yes man. You want people
Hmm.
who tell you no. And a lot of people, you have to remind me, these people are just saying what they want to say because they're not in your face. They're not face
Right.
to face with you.
Hmm.
And it's just wasted energy. So that energy, that time that I took to fuss somebody out about what they said about my baby, I'm going to use that same energy to write letters to our Congress people, which I've already done.
Hmm.
I've written letters to the police department. It's just staying active, staying um, in the know what's going on. That's really it.
Yeah, that's interesting you mentioned that because I know Tara, once again bringing up Tara, she has Governor DeWine on speed dial, right? And so but that's what it takes, and you're right. There are a lot of toxic things that come from social media, this, that, and the other. And if it were up to me, I'd just give my social media stuff to Tommy and say, hey, like, take care of it, right? But it's a part of building my brand, right? Like, who is Walter, and the things that he does. Yes, policy, education reform, presidency related, but also, like, who is he as a person?
Yep.
And so it's difficult because you get you know far out, left field kind of comments on whatever it is. And I try to engage where I feel there is a chance for a conversation, right? I will never stray away from any conversation, but we're going to be respectful,
Yes.
and you ain't going to just talk to me any way that
Certain
that
way.
that you want. And we can get to the end of the discussion, and neither of us have budged. That's fine. And I prefer that sometimes because it keeps me sharp, right? It keeps me on my toes. It keeps me being able to anticipate certain questions, statements. Like you said, I don't want a yes man. If I just have everyone agree with me, right? Like you said, I become comfortable.
Hmm.
And so there's all kinds of stuff. But one thing that I have noticed through all of this is that the people who have always been there for me, even before this, when I was growing up, when I was in school, I have not received any negative feedback. Like, I mean, there are people who have different opinions, and that's fine, but nothing, call me an Uncle Tom, call me a coon, all of these things. And I get that from people that I don't know, but it's like, who are you, right? Like, I didn't know you before this, and I'm not going to know you after. Like me personally, and I'm sure it's the way, it's built my DNA. It's who I am. That doesn't bother me as much because, for one, I know there is a higher calling. But the people whose opinions I value, the people who have groomed me, the people who have invested in me, they may disagree and they may come at me hard sometimes, and they may, say things that I don't like. But then on the other side of that, I understand that I still have so much to learn,
Hmm.
and that even though I'm new to the game, I still have that platform, and so I think that's important. And then there's just sometimes there are some comments that I just can't let go. Right. Most of them get through, but then sometimes I'm like, hold up, like let me take a couple minutes, just Twitter fingers. Um, but moving on a little bit. So of course, we have to bring this up. Last November at the White House with president, with all of these high profile politicians. um, I tell the president I'm coming for the White House, which up until that point in time, you and dad were the only two who knew that that was even remotely on the table. And so there's also a lot of responsibility. There's also a lot of, things that come along with that. Even now, there's been a lot of things that have changed, professionally, personally. And so, to just me personally, as your son, as Walter, what what piece of advice would you give me, just moving forward?
To become president,
Yeah,
um,
or just anything.
keep God first. It's not the popular thing, but it's the only thing.
Hmm.
And then start right now. Right now. What does it look like right now? If Walter was president right now, what would that look like? Start start right now. Keep, like I said, the people that you have around you, um, they're very good for you. I'm really pleased with the people that you have around you. Um, those are your right now. Those are your cabinet people. You know what I mean. Those are
Right.
your heads of states and different things like that. Um, and then you've always been a good researcher, but look what worked for past and present presidents. What did their presidencies look like? What not necessarily comparing yourself, but what could you learn from them? And you know me, I'm the question queen. Like, why?
Yeah, trust me, I know, I know.
You know, and I don't take no for an answer. You
Right.
can give me a no, but then I want to know why you gave me that no. But
Yeah.
it's just you speak to a lot of people, and I'm very pleased with the way that you carry yourself when you're speaking to people, whether they disagree with you or not. Um, but it's just getting out there, finding what works, what doesn't work. It's not. You probably would do more now, be more effective now in just the little things, finding out, you've already made a footprint in education. In a couple years, look into foreign policies, where can you make an impact there? In a couple more years,
Hmm.
just it's just starting now. What does President Walter Blanks Jr. look like?
Hmm. Oh, that's good. That's good. Um, but now, so enough of me, right? Like I want to dive into you a little bit more. Um, just personally, like, right, like who's Tracy? So tell us, who is the most, or what person, I guess, has the biggest impact on you? Like it could be anybody, past, present,
Hmm.
dead or alive. Like who is someone that inspires you every single day?
Um, ooh, that would actually have to be two people. Can I have two people?
Of course, of course. This is your world.
Oh
I'm just living
God.
in it.
You want me to kiss you in front of people? First, I would say my dad. You already know, Charles McCroy, my dad. He was a Vietnam vet. He was to society. He was an alcoholic. He was a not so good person, but to me, he gave me morals. He instilled in me, what it's like to respect the office. Being a military person. You know, he I think he went into the military when he was in the 11th grade. If I'm saying it correctly, I could be wrong, but he was very young. He was very,
Hmm.
very young. And to have that mindset, um, he never let me be. mediocre. He
Hmm.
always, in any conversation, in any type, even when he was correcting me, he always made me be the best Tracy I could be, giving me those trigger words, for his daughter. He didn't want me to be like everybody else. And then I would have to say, Dr. Tracy Forbes. She shows me every day how to be patient, you know, how to love, genuinely love people, no
Hmm.
matter what, no matter what. Yeah, those two people.
And so to those listening, Dr. Tracy Forbes is our first lady at our church in Columbus, at Columbus Christian Center. That's good. I anticipated the first one. I didn't anticipate the second one, but no, that's good. Going back to Bug, or my grandfather, he passed away when I was really really young, but I still remember all the encounters, right? Like on the paper route, bringing him on the paper route, or how outspoken and bold he was. I mean, he just didn't care. I mean, coming back from Vietnam, you could expect that a little bit, but when you talked about him ensuring that you would not be mediocre, I remember if we didn't say yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am, or if we didn't open the doors for you or honey, or any female, yeah, any woman in our presence, he would make us drop and do push-ups right then. It didn't matter if we were at the hospital, in the middle of a restaurant. He's like, no, you're going to get down, you're going to do these push-ups.
Yeah.
And so and that is stuck with me even now. Like there is no door that I will not open, no matter who it is. Um and and I think that's something that's missing in our society a little bit. Now I sound like an old person, but where's the respect? Where is the ability to walk away from an agreement, or walk away from a discussion not agreeing, and being okay with it? And um, yeah, those are really really good points. A few more questions. Um, what do you consider your greatest accomplishment in life? And you can't say me, because we all know that it is, but
My greatest accomplishment. Hmm. My greatest accomplishment, I would say, would be me genuinely loving myself. Genuinely loving myself. Because if I didn't love myself, then I couldn't effectively love you, love the people around me. I couldn't be great if I didn't love
yeah,
myself. That would be
yeah.
my greatest accomplishment, no matter what.
That's-
And embracing the things I don't like about myself, because they make me who I am.
Okay, so last one about Tracy. Then I have a few others that we can dive into for the last 10 or 15 minutes here. Um, how are you everywhere at once? Like I don't get this. So this is kind of two part. So there have been times where like you've texted me something that we at AFC have put out, whether it's like an interview or a video, and I'm sitting here like, wait a minute, you know everything that happens on social media, all the events, all like what's your superpower? Tell me your secret. Like I need to know this for my future.
There's this little thing. It's called subscribe. When you click it,
Right. The answer is always simple. Of course it is. That makes, like we always say, right? That makes too much sense, right?
it's a real. It's just being. I really, some things I get notifications. I do get a lot of notifications. I can't say
Hmm.
that. And Tommy is my I have Tommy is like the best person in the world for me. So when he posts
That's hurtful, but
does
continue.
something, and it gives me the notification. I don't always get to look, but when I do, it's like, okay, all right. And so, but because Tommy's my favorite, just like Sam. But when I get it's usually just notifications. But because I am invested, and because I have put, myself out there, when people hear something or see something, they may ask me about it. You know, when
Hmm.
the secretary came, the very first question I got was, "Is Walter here?" Because they just knew you were going to be here, you
Hmm.
know. And it was just like, why would Walter be here? You know, and it's just like,
Right.
oh, and then so then that's me diving a little bit deeper, and so then it's
Hmm.
like, hmm,
Right. Right.
let, let me see how I can do this, but I'll never tell you my real secrets.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, whatever. Um, let's see here. So I'm going to ask you a question about, advice for other parents. That'd be kind of like our wrap up question. So start thinking about that. But I just want to tell you, publicly, and I mean, I already do this. You always say that, you're the professional cheerleader and that you're, my number one fan and, all these things. And I tell that to as many people as I can because it is true. You have pushed me, um, to be greater than I could ever imagine, greater than anyone ever met. Like you saw greatness in me before it may have even been there, And so, um, that's a tough thing to do as a parent. I know that there were many, you know, sleepless nights that you didn't eat because we had to eat, all of these things. Um, and now that I'm an adult, right, living on my own, paying my own bills, and learning how to budget, can't buy video games and Jordans, like I'd like to, but that's okay. I do remember one time in high school where Tremaine and I were on the basketball team. He was a senior and I was a freshman, and we got the forms for all of our gear, right? Like shoes, warm ups, travel bags, all that stuff that we get every year. And I walked up to you, said, "Mom, I need shoes for basketball. I need all this stuff. I'm so extra, so I had to get like the lime green sleeves, headband, all that stuff." And you're like, "Well, like we'll have to see. Like we're not sure, all this stuff." And I'm like, "You're not sure? Like, what do you mean? It's only $90." And then you looked at me and said, "Yeah, but it's two of you, right? It's you and your brother. And so it's not just what the price you see because it's that times two." And I was like, "Okay, fine, yeah, like whatever." But now that I'm an adult and I'm paying for stuff, like I have no idea how you and Dad did. Like to this day, like I'm convinced. I don't know what it was because there were six of us. We all needed something. We all were in a sport. Like I was golfing, playing soccer, basketball, track. Like every few months, it was something that we needed. And so from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And thank you isn't even enough to show how much I appreciate you, how much I value you, I value our relationship. I always said, we've always had a really good relationship. We have fought. You have whooped me so many times. We've had many disagreements, but even through all of that, you are more than just a parent to me. You're my friend. You're my best friend. And so I think because of that, I have been able to have the confidence, right, to step out, to move to a new place that none of our family is here. No, nobody's here. It's me living this new experience, but I know that I have the backing of my mom and dad and my family, back home and the support. And I talk about school choice, and school choices has been pivotal, but you were the one to get that started, and you and dad. And so I don't know what I need to do to repay you. There's nothing I can do. I'm working on your trip to Disney World. I'm trying, I'm trying to do all these things, but yeah, I just wanted to take a moment, and this was the most important thing to me today that I wanted to say. Just thank you. Thank you for fighting for me, for fighting for your family, your kids, but also fighting for the next generation. I think that is so important to continue. People like you, people like Tara, people like Miss Virginia. Um, are the movers and shakers of this movement, and I am certainly standing on the shoulders of giants, and and I'm very very appreciative of that. And so I'm done being sappy. Stop crying. Um, to wrap this up, it could you can talk about advice, for parents or anyone who wants to get involved with this, who's passionate about it, or final remarks, whatever you want to say. Don't air out any embarrassing stories or dirty laundry, but yeah, crack at it. I'll let you get the last word.
Um, such a this is such a great platform. Although I did the research, me and your dad, we did the research, your grandparents, we all were researching. It took you stepping up to the plate to continue to run with it. And although we were the catalyst to get you to this point, you had to make the decision to walk it out. It couldn't be
Hmm.
us saying, Walter, go do this, Walter, go do that. You could have been anything. You could have been anything, but you chose to do this. And um, you're welcome. But it doesn't matter. You're always going to be my baby. For parents, I really, school choice gave us the ability to be present. And I would tell parents to practice being present. Start off small. It's very overwhelming. It is very overwhelming because there's so much. And there's so many people who are angry. Just bypass those people. Just bypass those people and get to the people who are going to be productive. Just be productive. And be your child's biggest cheerleader. You know, advocate for your child. Nobody knows your child like you do. Nobody's going to fight for your child like you do. We were blessed because we had people fighting for you before they even knew us. You know, they 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 wanted kids to succeed by any means necessary, and that's why you are where you are right now. And we're very proud of you, and we're ecstatic that it's you. Never thought it would have been you, but we're ecstatic that it's you. um and yes, there were many times where we didn't know where we were going to get the money. We didn't know where we were going to get the meals, or how we were going to make ends meet. We just knew it was going to be done. We have faith. And we pushed, we pushed, and you just don't give up. You fight until there's no more fight left. And right now, at the way that our government is going, I really feel like parents have to step up. They have to step up. They have to vote. They can't be popular. You have to be the standout. As a parent, you
Yeah.
have to be the standout. If that means getting away from some of your family and friends, getting away from some of your family and friends. And last, I'll say what Bug used to always say: whether the weather be cold or whether the weather be hot, we'll weather the weather, whatever the weather, whether we like it or not.
Oh my goodness. I don't know how did you do that? Wow. I was trying to follow. I was like, um, but yeah. So mom, thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're super busy. For, like I said at the beginning, investing in me, investing in students across the country. It's good work we're doing, and we're certainly on the right side of this. And I'm not going to stop. I know you're not going to stop. And so, um, thank you so much. I love you with all my heart. And actually, I'll be, getting on the road here soon to come visit you guys. So yeah, like I said, thank you so much, and we'll talk to you later. Thanks, mom.
Thank you. I love you.
Love you